Recorded live with little or no editing. It's Defense Up. I'm Run7. How you doing? Today we're going over DrunkenGleem's account. He is a non-voy, and he has asked me to take the leash off. Go hard on him this time. So we're gonna. We grade on 5 different criteria. It's who you're using, their place with their power levels, their ISOs, and what kind of mood I'm in. Team number 1 is a PymTech team with Falcon. Now, we're seeing Falcon being used on that Dark Hunter team, along with about 75 other different characters of pretty much equal value. So if you'd like to save him for the Dark Hunter team, that's a great thing to do, but you don't really have to. I don't think he's of much value here. You're replacing Ghost on this team, and I'm curious where your Ghost is. I think that this team is a filler team. And even with Ghost, it's a filler team. Like Ghost is that plug and play character that you put in here. And she carries this team. Falcon's not carrying this team. All he's doing is speeding it up. And I think he does have some value. So I'd actually consider taking Falcon off of here and just putting in some high-powered junk that you're definitely not going to use, because Falcon might be used in some niche offensive circumstances. And remember, you want to build for offense first, not defense. So if you have a character that could be valuable on offense, then don't waste him on a junk filler team like the PymTech defense is. Ghost is going to be much more valuable here, but she is a plug and play character, and we could see she might be on like a villain tech team. I don't know. Let's see. We've got let's go Fortifier on stature. She's kind of squishy for a tank, and then you want Skirmisher on these two. That's correct. Raider on her, that's right. You would normally go Striker on Ghost in here because she would rewind the turn meter after calling an assist from these two. Without Ghost being on here, there's no need to make these two Skirmishers because they won't be called for assists very much. You could do other things like Raider because they do AoE attacks. This team is not worth changing. It's not worth upgrading. You already overinvested in it. You're wasting a character like Falcon in here when you should probably have Ghost in this spot. I'm going to give you a C for this team. You should definitely think about making some serious changes. No, placement is the only thing you got right. Placement. Wow. Okay. Team number 2, more garbage. This is a waste of your Minerva. She could be better used someplace else. Everything rolls over the Guardians. You have the Striker Skirmisher combo set up. I like that, but you have another Guardian in here, and she may get called for an assist, which is going to debilitate that little trio of power that you have. So either throw in Drax and then forget about this team, or take out Mantis and put in, I don't know, Vision or something like that. It doesn't really matter. You've already overinvested in this team. It is hot garbage. I believe you are an older player. I think you were here for beta launch, if I remember right. So these Toons are built up from the early days, so that's okay. And of course, you know, we absolutely have to build them for the Nowhere event, right? That's sarcasm. Don't build them for the Nowhere event. Everything else is okay. Your placement, it's fine. I just think you should put 2 different characters in here. Use Minerva on a different team and get anybody that doesn't have the Guardian tag in there for those 2 positions. That way this trio is getting their quadruple taps, and you could get better plug and play characters in there. I don't know, like an Ultron or anything else, man. You could throw in like Hand Sentry would be better for these guys. It doesn't really matter. It is a junk filler team. So I'm going to give you a B- for that. At least these 3 are done right, although you did overinvest, but that was from the early days, so I can't really dock you for that. Team number 3 is a Mercs with Shuri. Nothing wrong here. This is a standard team. You've got Skirmisher on Taskmaster, and that's great, but you've only got one other Striker on the field. I think your 2 Merc minions are a little bit small. If you could get the stars and maybe a little bit of gear on those, stars here, gear here, and bring up those power levels a little bit more so they don't get knocked under 50% when an X-Force comes into them. Then this team will be rocking about 500 power level, and you might want to start considering switching to an Ultimus build instead of Shuri. Doesn't really matter. This team is super old. It's not a very good team to invest in, even though I really do enjoy the team. I think their mechanics are fun. You've got lots of different choices of who you can use, whether it be Korath or Bullseye. All those Mercs actually work really well in here. I would like to see more Strikers. Doesn't really matter. These are their native ISOs, but your Riot Guard doesn't need to be a Fortifier. The thing is, he attacks less than every other turn, so you're not getting a lot of value out of him as a Striker. But I still just like getting those triple taps off of Taskmaster there, with him being the skirmisher. Alternatively, you could make him a striker and everybody else skirmisher or something like that. But I do like the skirmisher, Taskmaster, striker on as many other mercs as you can. Not doing too bad. I do like the placement, who you're using and stuff like that. So I'm just going to give you an A- for that. It's more of your choice, like power these guys up and change those ISOs if you want to. Old team, so may not want to. All right, we've got Asgardians with Invisible Woman. I have never seen anything like this before. You're using Loki for a speed meta offense, or maybe altering a speed defense or something like that. He has value. You don't have to build him up, and so you're taking him off of that team. But I think that even with her putting people under stealth, I still think Symbiotes or Axemen are going to absolutely tear this apart. Now, you may be competing at a high-level war, and so everybody's speed meta teams are too big for this, and they don't want to punch down. Hey, let's get some music, for crying out loud. I made a big joke about that off stream about not having music playing. Here we go. So you may want to keep the full Asgardians depending on where your war is. Just watch your histories. If you see any speed meta teams like a 300 Axeman or a 350 Symbiotes coming into this, then it's time to get Hela out of there. She's an absolute liability. I do like Thor better on the Wave 1 as the Wave 1 Avengers. Heimdall can be used as a substitute on that Wave 1 Avenger team. Sif belongs squarely in the trash bin. Hela is great on a lot of different offensive teams, and Invisible Woman has really gone downhill. She is almost useless everywhere. She's so slow, it's hard to use her even as a niche plug-and-play character. I do think this is total garbage. I think you've got some valuable characters that are being wasted here, and I don't like that at all. C- for that team. Also, what the hell are you doing making Thor a skirmisher? I've seen Striker and I've seen Raider, but skirmisher? What's going on with that? I don't know. Okay, team number 5. Excuse me, my nose is itchy today too. Probably because I got the window open and it's springtime and I'm allergic to everything that grows. Okay, we got an Inhumans hybrid team. You put on a blinder and you got Quake in here. Man, Quake's old. Putting Quake in here is just a filler. You can do it. She has some synergy with this team. It's not a terrible choice. She's just an old character. She's not that great anymore. Her stats are just so outdated. There are much better characters. I prefer like a Surfer or a Coulson in here. Surfer and Coulson are better picks. I like Hawkeye better on that Wave 1 Avenger team. And I think off of the Wave 1 Avenger team, when you're not going for the Skirmisher Striker combo with Black Widow, making him a Raider is better. He's got a little bit of crit built into his kit. Is kind of the way to go. None of these characters are really worth adjusting their ISO, although I think maybe Crystal and Yo-Yo should be made war ready. I don't think these two characters in the corners are worthy of even adding more ISO to them, let alone changing an investment of 3. So I don't like who you're using. I think your ISOs need some tweaking, and I think you did waste a little bit on those characters. Gonna go with a C+ for that team. Team number 6 is the Symbiotes. I don't see any problems here. All these ISOs are arguable, but there's not a big problem. You do have 3 strikers and 2 people putting out vulnerables, so you're not going to get a lot of value out of those. You should probably think about switching somebody to a Raider, maybe making Scream a Raider or a Skirmisher to get a few more vulnerables out there. I do like the cleansing with Venom on his basic, and I like the double tap with Anti-Venom, how he comes back and does the stuff with all the buffs and debuffs. It's pretty impressive. So I'm gonna say A- on this team. Also, I think you should maybe get Anti-Venom and Scream a little bit further apart. They're far enough, but I like to have them on opposite ends of the field. They're both kind of hot targets. So moving on, team number 7 is the Heroes for Hire. You got a great big Shang-Chi. He's almost twice as big as anybody else. So a week ago, I was saying that Shang-Chi should probably go next to Luke Cage if he is twice as big as the rest of the team. Kind of like in this build. You also have a very big Culling Wing, which is unusual. Normally it's the Misty Knight we see that's built up big also. If Shang-Chi is really big in comparison to the rest of the team, he can absorb some of the splash damage coming off of Luke Cage without going under 50% and losing charges, whereas some of the smaller characters, they might lose some charges off of that splash damage. So that was the thing last week. But now we've got Dark Hunters out there. People want to put that disrupt on Luke Cage and then chain across the team. So we moved Luke Cage out of the corner now. I'm not going to dock anybody for it this month, but after the event, which starts tonight, good luck there, Commanders, on that one. After that event, I'm going to be telling people that they have to move Luke Cage off of the outside and docking people for having him in the corner like he is here. But let's talk about these ISOs. Fortifier, fantastic. Striker, great. Skirmisher, great. Healer, okay. Raider, that's very good. I like Skirmisher on Iron Fist because there's a lot of heal block going into this team. He still gets some value out of that heal, so it's okay. But I think Skirmisher's a better pick, or even Raider, so he crits on that big punch. But otherwise, I think this is fantastic. The reason we want Fortifier and Luke Cage is because he dies and revives, and you get a lot more use out of the barrier than you do out of his healing mechanic, because he is kind of slow, and a lot of times they die before that rejuve even takes place. Okay, as is, I'm going to say A- because we should probably move Shang-Chi over to this corner or move Luke Cage off the corner. Either way, I don't really want to hit you too hard because that moving Luke Cage out, that's brand new. Hot stuff right there, but it's brand new. So moving on, team number 8. So for those of you who don't know, Drunken Gleam likes to drink on stream, and clearly that's what he was doing when he placed Doc Ock on the corner. For the love of God, man, he's got deflects coming off of him. You're wasting half of his value right here. Oh my goodness. Swap places with Doom and Doc Ock at least. That way the deflects go to Sinister and he can spread it to... Well, he's not spreading it to a lot of people, is he? Anyway, get the deflects on Sinister. That's probably a better bet. Get Fortifier on Strife. He's got barrier built into his kit. He uses it really well, and he is kind of the linchpin of this team. However, you only have one other villain mutant on here, so he's not going to be taunting that early. You might want to consider getting Ghosty out of here, putting her back on her team, like I said, and then either putting Falcon on this team to help speed this team up, which isn't great because he does his speed up on turn 2, and by that time, this team's probably going to be dead. Instead, put in Emma back on this team or any other villain mutant. You could consider taking... You could consider taking out some different people and putting in like, let's do like Blob and Toad, right? That way Blob is taunting right off the bat, so who cares how long it takes for Strife to start taunting? That's a good pick. There's all sorts of things, but man, I just look at this Doc Ock and you've got him off to the side wasting those beautiful deflects, which he does so well. I don't like Ghost in here. She's adding nothing to this team other than jumping out of the way of chain attacks, which probably aren't going to matter because Strife's going to get disrupted right off the bat. And then Sinister's, I don't know, Sinister's going to probably clone like a Daredevil or something because Shadowlands will come into this team and shut it down. Or a Symbiote team could come into this and shut it down. Who knows? Lots of things that could go wrong with this. I don't like who you're using. I hate your placement. I don't like the ISOs. There's not a lot of good things I can say about this other than your Doom's pretty. So, yeah, break this team up, start over. I'm giving you a C- for that. It's a waste of a lot of good characters. All right, team number 9 is the New Warriors with Emma and Surfer. I would like you to swap places with... I think we should probably swap places with maybe Deathpool and Surfer. That way Surfer's getting the offense up from Dagger. I think so. I don't know. I just like giving that offense up to Surfer. I think that's a better bet. And then Emma's in here making things happen. This is a great team. It's a really tough defense. It's one of the better defenses that just about anybody can field so long as you have access to these characters. And most of us who have been playing for a minute do. It's a tough one. It's not unbeatable, of course, but it requires a serious counter. So I do like this defense as a standard. Healer, striker, skirmisher. You have 3 strikers and technically like 2.5 people putting out vulnerables because Cloak and Dagger put it out there with their kits, and that's cool. And then Dagger's putting out, or I'm sorry, Cloak is putting out vulnerables with him as a skirmisher. I like Surfer as a raider on defense. I think you get a lot more value out of him. I think you're going to get a lot more value out of him as a raider on this team. So that's something you could do. That blue ISO is a little bit expensive, although I'm finding I have a little bit to play with. So maybe you want to make that change. It's entirely up to you. I won't dock you for it. The placement, it's arguable. There's still some value getting Deathpool that offense up, but I think Surfer's traveling so fast that he's going to get more use out of it. So I think we should make that switch. I'll give you an A- for the team. And moving on to the final team. All right. Oh, Young Avengers. A 1.2 million Young Avengers to redeem the team. Only problem is you've got Ms. Marvel off to the outside again. And for the same reasons, although I doubt you're going to come across any Dark Hunters, so I'm not going to dock you for it this time. I doubt there's any 1 million Dark Hunters out there. But if there are, then you're going to want to move Ms. Marvel off the corner and put her anywhere else. I'm thinking also we might want to consider, like, here's an idea. Just swap places with Squirrel Girl and Ms. Marvel. That way you've got separation between Kate and Squirrel Girl, who are pretty hot targets. Man, 7 red stars on that Echo. That's kind of nice. I bet she retaliates like a tank. Okay. Yeah, I think just a little bit of a swap placement there, and you don't even have to do that right now because you're pricing yourself out of the DH market. You know, Dark Hunters aren't coming into this team just yet. But watch your histories, watch your wars. When you start seeing Dark Hunter teams that are big enough to come into this, it's time to move Ms. Marvel off the outside. Otherwise, I like everything you're doing here. You could consider switching Squirrel Girl to a healer if you want, but I personally like her as a striker. I think she has enough heal in her kit to do it without the ISO. So guys, this has been Drunken Gleem's defense up video. Something I want to mention about Drunken Gleem's content, it's different from everybody else's. He puts a lot of his culture and his personality into his videos. He streams from Singapore, I believe is where he's streaming from right now, and he has lots of interesting stories about his travels, and he puts a lot of that into his content. So be sure to check him out on Twitch and YouTube. I'll put his links in the description below. While you're down there, be sure to hit that like button. It helps me out. And you can subscribe for more of these videos. I'm putting them out on the daily. Remember, guys, don't just have a good game, be good to yourselves and others too. And I will catch you next time. Bye.